Such beautiful energy connecting with all of you, Aries, and it really feels like a lot of you are ready to be loved for who you truly are, whether you are in relationship, looking for love, happily single, whatever it is. Maybe you're just learning to love yourself and appreciate you for who you are right now, or there's something that blossoms from that that helps your other relationships in your life. And the image that really came through to me, I saw this kind of like murky, muddy water. And then I saw a lotus flower. And it actually reminded me of something I wrote in my journal many years ago when I basically was at this point in my life where it's like I'm ready to not just be loved for the flower that I've blossomed into, but for the muddy waters from whence I came. Kind of referencing that lotus, that beauty that can come from murkiness, from ambiguity, from maybe things that are hard or difficult. And it feels like a lot of you have had a difficult journey in this life around love or just really embracing who you are. And it seems like you have done a lot of healing. And just because those waters are murky or muddy isn't necessarily a bad thing either. And I think sometimes in kind of the spiritual or self-help world, we can get really wrapped up in this notion that we have to be fully healed before we are really able to be loved, or that we have to heal ourselves to be worthy. That can sometimes be like a subconscious shadow in our healing work. Like we're doing it so we can get the approval or attention or love of other people. Um, but it feels like, no, you've seen the healing that you've done. You're recognizing that right now. And I did pull a couple of animal cards. We'll get into the tarot in just a moment, but I kind of wanted to clarify these messages a little bit more. And we got two water animals with the alchemical symbol for water at the top, this upside down triangle, or this triangle that's pointing down. And with the crocodile here, this very much is about something emerging out of the waters, or eyes out above the water. And it feels like there is some part of you that is emerging right now, but it still feels like there's kind of this incubation. And I do want to talk a little bit about the astrology, even though this is a timeless reading. It may kind of be a throwback to the time of this recording for you, which is early 2025. There might be something referential here whenever you're watching this, or maybe there's just a similar dynamic that's playing out regardless of the astrological transits. But there's a lot happening, given that your ruling planet Mars is currently retrograde in the water sign Cancer, which for you represents home, family, your roots, but on an even deeper level, your early childhood conditioning, your emotions, maybe some childhood wounds, some parts of yourself that have been repressed. It feels like there is something here that is emerging and slowly coming to the surface. And this feels very gradual. Even though crocodiles are kind of like ambush predators, for a lot of you, this feels very much like you're kind of testing the waters right now. Is it safe to really be who I am? Is it safe to express these parts of myself? That's kind of what I feel, but it's still very calm. It's very powerful. You know, crocodile is an apex predator. It's a very strong energy to work with. And so there is kind of this fearlessness here, and it's almost like biding your energy. Like you're not going to put your energy out into relationships or situations that aren't going to serve you. You're not looking for everybody's approval anymore. That's actually one of the first steps towards self-love, I think, or a very important step in that journey. It feels like you are coming from a very powerful place. And I also saw the swan, which, you know, I actually do see swans in swamps very often, or kind of like murky or algally bloomed waters. Um, and there's kind of this reflection that is going on. And sometimes I do look at this card and it does make me think of like a relationship, like a spiritual relationship. I don't really love the term soulmate or twin flame. I think it often gets misconstrued. There's a lot of toxicity around these terms, and it's so ambiguous, like people project their own meanings onto it anyway. But I really do get the sense of like there is a relationship that is mirroring you in some way. As you are becoming more self-aware, there is also a reflection that you are meeting. And for some of you, it really does feel like this is kind of tied to like another person. I really am getting like love relationship vibes for this group so far. But I think either way, it also comes from this self-love, this introspection, really connecting with who you are. And I think for some of you, there's something maybe to do with language or writing, perhaps even poetry. That feels really important to me too, because the swan is sometimes associated with the goddess Saraswati, who is the goddess of language, the goddess of poetry. I also think of Venus or Aphrodite, who is often associated with swans as well, who is the goddess of love. And so there's a lot here that feels like there's something really beautiful that is coming from self-love, and it's like unconditional self-love. It doesn't matter what you're feeling or what you're where you've come from emotionally. You're loving yourself. You're there for yourself. And it feels like by doing that, there is another person or another energy that is reflecting that back to you right now. And maybe this is also perhaps even a reverse situation. I know many people who feel like they met someone who helped them see their value and see their worth. So perhaps for some of you, this is another person who's really helping you reconnect with that as well. But either way, I love this energy. It is so, so beautiful and feels like some interesting energies for you to embody. So I am going to shuffle the tarot cards now, and as I do this, I feel like it's a good time to remind you that these are general readings, meaning not all the messages that come forward are going to be meant for you specifically. It's up to you to use your own intuition and discernment to apply what is for your own life and to leave behind what is not. It may even feel good right now to pause this video and really check in with your body, check in with your heart, check in with your spirit, and really feel out what resonates with you, and really figure out where you're feeling that in your body. You are also welcome to check out the other videos on my channel. I've been posting more and more timeless videos lately, so maybe there's another one for your moon, rising, or sun sign that speaks to you. And I also want to direct those of you who are looking for readings with me. I actually do have a astrology sale for the month of January. You can get 30% off a chart reading using the code NewYear25. I do also have a 2025 forecast in the blog on my website, which I think is really important because, again, astrologically, 2025 is a really significant year for you, Aries, especially at the time of this recording, right at the beginning here of this year. And I think that's everything. Pretty much anything that you could look or ask for is probably in the description of this video. And if you have been following around for some time and haven't done so already, definitely consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Not only does that help this channel grow, it also lets you stay up to date with what's in the cards for you, especially if you hit that bell notification. So, I mean, if you're going to subscribe, you might as well do that too. Anyways, what are the messages for Aries? What are the messages for Aries? It's interesting that I've been shuffling for a while. Usually a card would fall out by now, or I would have a sense of needing to pull something. And this kind of feels like this biding, this waiting of the crocodile. I am also thinking of the general reading that I just did, and I titled it, Don't Let Yourself Be the One That Got Away. I'm already kind of feeling that energy for you too, because there is something about a self-love journey here. Interesting. Ooh, love, 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 love. Wow. Okay. Nice. And what do we have at the bottom of the deck here? We do have the Knight of Cups. So a lot of you are experiencing some sort of romantic connection or reconnecting with your heart, your intuition. The Knight of Cups is very dreamy, very creative, can be very romantic, maybe a little bit fickle at times because the heart does change. So maybe some of you are going through a change of heart right now. But I think this is really kind of speaking to the energy I have been connecting with you already. So this feels very affirming. The card for the past influence, I have the King of Cups. I actually did get this in reverse, but I don't really read reversals, especially with this deck, all too often. And it feels like you've kind of been in this process of reconnecting with your emotions, doing some sort of emotional healing. And I actually get the expression becoming a parent to yourself. You've been reparenting your inner child or kind of holding these inner child wounds in a way that feels very empowered. And the King of Cups is someone who really makes space for all sorts of emotions. It kind of is like this Fred Rogers archetype. It's okay to feel sad sometimes. And that might not be messaging that you really got or conditioning that you really got as a child. And it feels like this has been an important pivot point, something that has been changing in the recent past. You're learning to be more present with your emotions, and that's not the same thing as just being reactive or drowning in them either. You're not drowning. You're mastering the water element here. And even though both of these animals are aquatic, they do both breathe air. So it is important to come up for air as well. Um, and like, again, like not drowning or living entirely in this emotional realm. It's like using it to gain some sort of power with the crocodile, to gain that camouflage, or ironically, in a reverse way, to reflect, to see yourself with the swan. And I mean, I really think of the swan too as kind of this intermediary between the mind, the air element with the wings and flight, and the emotions, the heart with the water element. And so there is kind of this relationship between the mind and emotions, how your thoughts can influence the way you feel and vice versa. And this just feels like being very masterful about your emotions, very psychological, actually. I'm wondering if some of you have been going to therapy or doing some sort of emotional healing modality or spiritual modality. But it seems like maybe it's a combination of things, actually. It feels like you are really coming into your own. And ironically, by developing this emotional maturity, you're actually coming alive. You're becoming spunkier. You're becoming this fire sign that you are meant to be with this Knight of Wands. You're doing the things that you're passionate about. You're not afraid to fall down and scrape your knees when you're learning new tricks here or you're trying something new. And you're able to kind of hold yourself in that process. Yeah, I might get hurt exploring relationships. Sometimes dating brings up those insecurities or those wounds, but it's not going to kill me. It's not going to break me. There's this resilience, there's this fight. And I actually kind of see that continuing on into the present with the Seven of Wands, which sometimes can feel like standing up for yourself or taking a stand for yourself. And I think maybe there are people who don't understand the shift or transformation that you're in. And that might be why it feels like, ironically, even though the Seven of Wands is here, I almost feel like the strategy is kind of like picking and choosing your battles right now. Especially since Mars is retrograde, there can be a lot of fruitless conflict or old conflict that is coming up. And there may even be like old people or people from the past that are coming into your life, people you haven't seen in some time or connected with in some time. I am actually getting that for you, which I'll go over in just a moment. But with the Seven of Wands, it really does feel like you're taking some sort of stand. You're standing in your power. And I'm not getting this in like the traditional way. You're not fighting for yourself. You're not fighting to change other people anymore. You're kind of done waiting on other people. You're not going to put your energy in that. You're going to say what you need to say and no more. And if you do find yourself in a conflict in the next month or so or the next few months, that might be the advice for you. Because you have your sense of integrity and sense of wholeness already. You know who you are. You know what you need. You know what's going to be worth saying and what's not. And I do feel like some of you just say like a very snappy one-liner to this person, or you just say what needs to be said. Because there is the fire. We do actually have the Queen of Wands with the Six of Cups here. And this is kind of what is changing in your life. And this is really beautiful. Again, the Six of Cups sometimes does indicate nostalgia, which sometimes represents people coming back from the past. Maybe another fire sign, could be another Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. But specifically with Queen of Wands, this is actually your energy. And it really does feel like... could also be late Pisces energy too. End of Pisces, beginning of Aries. But what this really feels like to me is that you are reconnecting with yourself. Because this is the card that literally represents your energy to me as a reader. There is this thing about connecting to the inner child. And like, being fearless with your beliefs, with your convictions. Yeah, there's something weird about conflict. And I do feel like this could very well be tied to family for a lot of you, particularly with Mars, your ruling planet going retrograde in your Cancer fourth house of home, family, ancestors, roots, your lineage. Or maybe some of you are even taking a stand for your ancestors. That could be something as well. Um, but you're healing. You're healing ancestral wounds, intergenerational wounds. And part of that is you embracing who you are now, even if there is elements of that that your family rejects or that society rejects. It almost feels like some of you are coming out of the closet or something. Or there's some aspect of your identity that is coming forward that just wasn't traditionally considered acceptable for whatever reason. Um, and I think a lot of you, this is also about you reconnecting to your creativity or your passion. Some of you may have an interest in fashion or expressive performance-based arts. Could be drag. Maybe that's part of it for some of you. Could be like burlesque or something like that too. For some reason, I'm kind of getting like a gender or sexual thing with that. Um, or something that kind of connects you with that raw confidence. That's what I'm getting. It's the confidence. Um, and like that's the thing. Kids don't come into this world being unsure of themselves. A baby doesn't decide, well, I'm not going to cry because I don't want to inconvenience my parents. If a baby needs something, it's going to cry. It's going to cry. We learn to not speak up for our needs as a result of our conditioning. And the thing that you're healing, the thing that you're reconnecting reconnecting with is this need to kind of speak to your needs, but also not fighting for other people who just aren't going to meet them, to try and meet them. You're finding your people right now. Or you're seeking out the right places to get that. And we do have the Ace of Swords in the future. There is this clarity. There is some truth that is coming out. And I actually want to clarify what this truth is. And it's funny that we go from the crocodile, which is kind of the swampy, murky water, to the image of the swan here, which is very clear and reflective. There is something that is clearing. And I do feel like there is some sort of truth that is coming out. Honestly, could be like a family secret or just like some sort of revelation, again, connecting to your inner child or who you're meant to be. Because I really do think that the inner child and the higher self are kind of one and the same, sort of archetypally. Tell me more about this Ace of Swords. What is being revealed? I think someone is also professing feelings for you as well, or someone is speaking from their heart. I do get that. Some sort of news around a big ending or change or transformation with death. And I think death is one of those cards that can be really scary for a lot of people. But honestly, like sometimes death is a very welcome card, especially if things haven't been going well or things have felt kind of lackluster. Death can represent an end or a change that is much needed. And I feel like with the Ace of Swords, there is almost something about cutting your losses. Actually, I'm getting that with the Seven of Pentacles here, funny enough, too, because that's kind of a card of investment, putting time and energy into something. It feels like there's some sort of area of your life where you've put in a lot of energy or time, and it feels like it's hard to give that up, just because of how much of yourself and your time and your energy you've put into it. But there's something else that you're really passionate about, or that feels like a more authentic expression of who you are or who you've become. And it's okay to let that go. And I want to say, if it feels like there's some sort of change happening in your career right now, or the role that you fill in the world at large, it's never too late to make that change. It's never too late to embrace yourself. For others of you, this could potentially represent a relationship, especially with a Scorpio energy. I believe we also do have Virgo energy here with this Seven of Pentacles. Or no, wait. This actually could be Taurus energy. I'm so sorry. If you look up the astrology of the Seven of Pentacles, you should be able to find what it represents. But it does feel like an Earth energy. I mean, I know it's an Earth sign. But there is something here that it's like you're ending something. Or maybe you're just receiving news of something ending that's very significant, but it kind of gives you this new beginning and sense of clarity anyway. Like, I'm not afraid of death here. I'm really, really not. And again, I want to tell you, I want to give you this message. It's never too late. You didn't miss your chance. Okay? You're not too old, or you're not too far in to change your mind or to do something different. It's also not too late for you to find love, if that's kind of a thing for some of you. I just kind of heard that. And I do kind of want to pull at least a couple of cards here about what is going on in love for you, because that does feel like something that's pretty significant and in your orbit. It feels like you've been guarding your energy, and maybe you're still kind of recovering with the Four of Pentacles and the Four of Swords here. Both of these cards can kind of be like energy conservation, especially in sort of an emotional context. There are things in your roots here, tangled in these roots with the Four of Pentacles, or holding on to things that are important to you. The Four of Swords is a card of rest. It feels like you've had to heal, and it's taken you a long time to heal. Maybe that's the thing that's taken a long time to let go of. You've had to let go of an old relationship, and like, it's even bigger than that is the thing. Like, you're almost giving up or letting go of this old story of what your life or relationships had to look like. Like, I had to be married at a certain age. I had to have kids at a certain age. Like, you can still have those things if you want them, but maybe you don't. Maybe that's changed. Maybe you just thought that's what you needed or wanted. You're making something different here, and you've needed time to heal and to let go of something, because it feels like there was a significant ending in a relationship that it was more than just the relationship that ended. It was like almost, it sounds dramatic, but it was like the death of a dream, or kind of like this illusion of what you assumed your life was gonna be. So some pretty significant ending, and I feel like it's taken some time to heal, and maybe there was even a healing crisis that came out of that. Here we go. We do have the Knight of Cups. So I do feel like for some of you, again, there's this willingness to be loved, or you're getting yourself into this energy. Excuse me. And this is also Pisces energy too. And for some reason, I want to say Pisces is also the Swan. Actually, that might be Scorpio. Cygnus. Cygnus is a constellation. But definitely very strong Pisces energy here with this Knight of Cups. Could also be late degree Aquarius energy, kind of on the cusp. But this just feels like opening your heart. And like, I think a lot of you are learning to kind of let your walls down, because it's like you've had some harsh things happen in relationships, and it kind of like, it made you shut yourself off to love. And you're learning to be vulnerable again. And like, you need to be vulnerable. You need to be strong in order to connect to people. You need to be willing and ready to get disappointed or even hurt sometimes. Like, that's kind of part of the game. That's part of the process. And it's in those moments too where you can actually really be supported. I'm thinking a lot of like Brené Brown, and that might be someone who's worth listening to, where she talks a lot about the difference between belonging versus fitting in, and like how they're actually opposites of each other. Because when we're trying to fit in, we're just trying to be what other people need us to be. And belonging is when we're truly ourselves. And that's when we are able to really feel accepted and truly connected to other people. So I think, honestly, a lot of you have tried to fit in. And like you're starting to really come to terms with this. And I think I just heard some of you like, I wasn't trying to fit in, but you were though. Like spirit is kind of pushing back on that a little bit. Like you actually were trying to fit in. You were trying to fit into a version of yourself that you thought you should be, even if it wasn't about what other people wanted you to be. Like you thought you had to be a certain version of yourself that just, it's not the totality of who you are. Maybe it's a part of who you are, but like you need to be more whole in your sense of self. That's something you've been healing and working on. And I do feel like there is a relationship that's coming, but honestly, I don't even want to rush this. I don't want to put this in a time frame. I think this is going to come when it's meant to. Yeah, that feels important to me. I just want you to know it's not too late to find love for those of you who are single. And maybe you are in relationships and like something has happened in relationships where you sort of shut down or close your heart off, and you're allowing yourself to really be felt and seen and heard on even deeper levels. So this can apply in a lot of different ways. I don't want this to just be about one specific situation or pattern. There's something about you softening your heart. Yeah, and there's like these big emotions that are coming out with the Five of Cups. You've been, there's almost like a dam that's breaking. And honestly, Aries, it's beautiful. It's good. It feels cathartic to cry. It really, really does. And I feel like you've been fighting for so long. You've been holding out for so long with the Nine of Wands, and you're almost there. You're almost on the other side of something. You're almost on the other side of this dark night or this challenging period. And I think for a lot of you in the next few years, you really are actualizing because you're going to have Saturn and Neptune in your sign. You're having this sort of identity crisis, and it's like you're kind of letting go of these versions of yourself that were masks or weren't really genuine or authentic. There's kind of a dissolving that's happening with Neptune that's quite interesting. And we have the Star, finding faith, finding healing, finding renewal, finding hope. You're becoming hopeful again. And like if there's something that you should be manifesting right now, it's hope, it's faith, it's renewal. Because even when things are dark, even when things are heavy, we can't always see what else is there in those waters with us. There is some sort of clarity. And we do have Aquarius energy. So Aquarius season, even Pisces season again, could be very healing, very powerful, very transmutative. And the astrology definitely suggests that. Again, I do have the 2025 forecast in the blog post on my website, which you can find in the description here. And I'm also feeling like while you are reconnecting with some wounds, you're also experiencing true joy. Yeah, the Justice card. There's a rebalancing that is going on. There's a balance of joy and sorrow, grief and love, and it's like there's this true aliveness here. And about all of this is about loving where you're at, you know, loving all of the things you're feeling, even if they're hard, because your emotions are trying to show you something, even if you're getting confused by that. It might not be what you think right now. It's like you're healing your relationship with your emotions. I think that's like kind of the takeaway. And there's a lot of ways that that can be done. That can even be done through medication if there's like an imbalance, or it could be through some emotional modality. I feel like there's kind of an integrative approach a lot of you are taking, to be honest. You're just finding new ways to relate to yourself and to not get so stuck in the murkiness of your emotions and become a container for them instead. And those are all the messages I have for you right now, Aries. I do hope this was helpful. Definitely be sure to hit like and subscribe, especially if you've made it this far. Maybe to give us a little swan emoji or a little star emoji here. Very, very beautiful energy. I'm so excited for this healing for you. I really do think that this is beautiful and it's just all encompassing. You can find all of my links for personal readings and distance Reiki sessions. Again, you can get 30% off chart readings using the code NEWYEAR25. And I will see you all in the next video, sending lots of love and blessings your way. Take care.